Well, good morning, trading family. I definitely have some updates for you from last week's video. The SPY has pulled back a little bit further than I originally anticipated. And in fact, you can see a second ascending trend line drawn there on the chart. We're going to talk about that and where that came from. We're going to talk about the strength of the dollar, the strength of U.S. oil, the continued pullback of NVIDIA. The VIX is still up. And of course, our crypto market seems to continue to crash with one exception. We'll talk about that exception in this week's video. All right, so I'm going to start right off the bat here with SPY. This is where we started in the entry video. And if you'll remember, let me get out my highlighter here. In last week's video, I expected us to pull back to this ascending trend line, and then I thought we would bounce. But in fact, we did not bounce. We continued to break that particular trend line and have now come down to another point of support. And that is the secondary ascending trend line here. So what I did is the previous trend line was drawn from our low in October of 23. And you can see up here, we hit a low here in January of this year. And that helped us to form, along with this low here, August of 24, that particular trend line. And you can see it was important. We used it as support for about 3 days before we broke through it. All right. And now we have another trend line here that also starts, or it originates the same time, October of 23. And this time we come down to the body low here in August of 24. All right. And now you can see we are kind of bouncing off of that trend line. Now, I don't think that this particular trend line is as strong as the first one. And I've said that, if we don't break our $600 mark, I don't have that level drawn there, target number 2, essentially, that whole box. If we don't, let me pull that out here. If we don't break through that, which we have not, then we'll probably come back down to that 563 support, or even lower to this neckline from that larger cup and handle pattern around 550. All right, so anywhere down here, if that second trend line breaks, we can expect to see the price come on the SPY. Now, I tend to think at this point that we will eventually break that second trend line, and I'm going to visit the dollar next to show you why. And then I'm also going to visit oil, and our, kind of one of our leaders is NVIDIA for sure. Heaviest, cap of volume traded daily, etc., and is important for our crypto. All right, I'm going to zoom out to the weekly here on the dollar, and you can see that I do have a long position box drawn. That's mainly because I am considering going long here. And the reason why is the dollar continues to look strong. And originally, I had spotted this W pattern here. This W pattern has filled, and we've exceeded the target. And really now this is just looking like a bull flag. So I think we could go all the way up to this descending white trend line, which comes all the way from 1984. Hugely significant. In fact, you'll remember, what was it, over half a year ago, I said we're not going to break that trend line because it is so significant. And we didn't break it. In fact, we just crashed. Once we hit that, we just crashed all the way down. And that's exactly, I don't know if that's going to happen this time, but we're certainly not going to just break straight through that. So 112 would be my target on the dollar or dollar traded funds. So the dollar is definitely looking strong, especially with, zoom in here to the daily, and you can see we have a large buy side liquidity block, and my signal has given us the green dot on these large cap, large volume. Anything large cap, large volume, this is highly accurate, a very accurate indicator. So that's where we're at on the dollar. Dollar is looking strong. In contrast, Nvidia is looking weak. We broke this white ascending trend line and just gapped way down. Then we hit a buy side liquidity block, almost came up to retest the underside of that ascending trend line, but got stuck here in a high sell volume area and have come now back down. And because everything is kind of looking negative macroeconomically, geopolitically, there are lots of things that are causing the market uncertainty. I'm not saying that they're necessarily bad for the economy long term. It's just that the market does not know how to respond to everything that's happening. Trump with his tariff taxes. We've most, if not all, actually all investors, all traders have not been through that sort of transition before, where we have these large taxes on tariffs. All right. So the market is very uncertain. And what they're doing is selling assets, positions, commodities, and jumping to the dollar, something that they can rely on for stability. And that's why we're gaining strength here on the dollar. All right. And so we can expect, stocks like Nvidia, even though we're in we've reached a buy side liquidity block, so a little bit of a bounce there can be expected. You can see I have another box down here. That is where I've kind of spotted support anywhere from $92 to $100. That would be a good support level. And as long as the market remains negative, you can expect further decline on things like Nvidia. Another thing that is giving me this negative sentiment on the SPY, besides a strong dollar, is strong oil. All right, again, another buy side signal on oil. Oops, didn't mean to move that. And we've got a green dot in a large liquidity block, again with these large cap, large volume traded type of commodities or stocks, almost always accurate. So again, another a position I'm looking to enter, going long here, maybe all the way to the underside of this previous support, this ascending white trend line. It's possible that oil continues its strength. And of course, oil kind of leads the energy sector. And so when oil and energy is strong, it's expensive. And when it's expensive, there's less profit that can be expected in these different companies. And so this is weighing down on stocks, just like a strong dollar is. And let's take a look at our VIX here. The VIX is still, fairly increased. You can see we've come right up into a resistance line and have actually wicked above that very quickly. If I zoom in here, we can see that a little bit better. All right. And so the VIX is, considering the past 3 years, at an elevated place. All right, so when the VIX, we know the VIX and the dollar work together. When they're elevated, you can expect suppression on the stocks. But we have the VIX elevated, we have the dollar elevated, and we have oil elevated, and then we have big leaders like Nvidia selling. All right, so now let's just jump. You understand the sentiment in stocks. Let's jump to our crypto here, and you can see, and we know Bitcoin has done what I did not expect us to do, and that is to break this support. Where does that come from? Well, if I zoom out here, it's labeled, we've got our April 2021 high. That's the wick high to our November 2021 wick high. And all I did was draw a line from dot to dot and extend that infinitely. And here we have resistance expressed, and then this has been used as support. In fact, it was such strong support that it even rejected a very probable head and shoulders pattern here. Head and shoulders usually plays out 85% of the time, but at the same time we had a mixed signal. We had this bullish triangle, so the market opted for the bullish triangle rather than the bearish head and shoulders pattern, and our support held. At that point, I was like, well, we're not going to break that support. In fact, even up until last week's video, you'll notice I did not expect us to break that support. However, with all of the uncertainty with these tariffs and everything, that is definitely weighing even the crypto market down. And we just, once we broke that, support, we've just crashed. Crypto, but mostly Bitcoin and large altcoins have just taken a dive. And you can see I have an ascending trend line drawn here from August of 2024. We are using that as support. Do I think that will hold? I've said all along that if we break our previous support here, that April 21 high to November 21 high, that I thought we would come all the way down to that neckline on our larger cup and handle pattern, or that's a cup and handle pattern. All right, so what I'm looking at here is this whole thing being the cup, this being the handle, and we broke that neckline. And so we never did retest that neckline, not even on the daily, certainly not on the weekly. But if we zoom back out, we never really did retest this neckline. Usually from a technical perspective, we come back and test that. Now, once we remained above this support, I was not sure that was going to happen. In fact, you'll know that I did not expect it to happen as of last week. But here we are. And so I do think at this point, our ascending white trend line may not hold us, and we'll actually come back down a little bit lower and touch that neckline. That's at 75,000. That would be our local low. That's what can potentially be expected. Let's take a look at Ethereum, the largest cap altcoin, and you can see, all right, originally I posted something fairly positive, but I jumped the gun a bit on this. We had been breaking this descending trend line, and I posted a bullish kind of scenario before we got confirmation. I usually don't do that, but there was a bunch of, I got caught up. Let me just say I got caught up in the FOMO news. Ethereum was supposed to break this trend line, and we did not. All right, so because it was rejected, it was rejected strong. We came all the way down to another large liquidity block and actually took another stab at this trend line. Came pretty close. Again, the market it was paper hands, and we came all the way down to this particular trend line. This is huge, guys. This comes all the way, I believe this comes all the way from 2020, where I started this. Yeah, July 2020. All right, so if this trend line breaks, oh my gosh, it is going to be ugly. I don't think I will. Of course, I am an analyst that always admits I could be wrong. You have to be honest about this stuff, guys. But at this point, I'm under the persuasion that Ethereum has reached its local low. I'll tell you why. What I am seeing in the one positive sign in this video is meme coins seem to be holding their own. Let's take a look at, for example, while larger cap altcoins continue to crash, like Ethereum and Solana. Look at Solana, man. It has just taken a nosedive, and it continues. The RSI is 33. It was down to, I believe it was down to 25 at one point. But then look at meme coins. Like, look at PopCat here. All right. So for the last 3 weeks or so, basically just sideways action. All right. Hasn't followed and exaggerated Bitcoin's drop per usual. Additionally, we can look at other meme coins doing kind of the same thing. Let's see if we can spot one here. Let's take a look at Degen. Haven't looked at this yet. Again, look at that sideways action, just going sideways. All right, so meme coins look to have bottomed out. All right, now if you can call that a positive, we lost 80 to 95% on all of our meme coin positions. At least that last 5% is holding. Maybe that's the one positive. I don't know. When you trade crypto, you're grasping at straws sometimes to find the positive. MOG is pretty much going sideways, a little bit of down action, but I'm talking about Solana meme coins in this particular example. So WIF would be an example of that. Let's take a look at what it's doing. Again, pretty much just sideways price action. All right, so I've said that this cycle is about meme coins, and I expressed several times in the past that meme coins seem to be most closely following Bitcoin, if not leading Bitcoin. So because these meme coins are holding their own at this point, that's definitely maybe a lead indicator that the altcoin market is about to, when I say about, it might be a few more weeks, but it's definitely something to look at as positive. Because I'm talking about altcoins, I'm going to go to Bitcoin dominance. And okay, so we have this ascending wedge, which is bearish. I might not have that drawn all correctly, but that is a very long-term wedge. That's years and years. And once we break this channel here, this ascending channel, I think it's all over for Bitcoin dominance. But in addition to that triangle, which when you get to the end of these triangles, you can fluctuate back and forth across the top and bottom. But overall, the significance is that it's bearish for a longer trend. And because this is such a long trend triangle, we have to look at more local patterns. And that's this ascending channel here. We are at the bottom of it. And guys, if we break the bottom of that channel down, Bitcoin dominance will go. Not necessarily meaning that altcoins will drop in price, but meaning that Bitcoin, in contrast to altcoins, is going to be weaker, and altcoins will hold their own. And Ethereum seems to indicate this as well. Ethereum leads the altcoin market, and I believe Ethereum has reached its local low. All right, this trend line from 2020 is huge, guys. I can't tell you how important this is. And if this breaks, everything goes. I mean, everything is gone. We'll be left holding the bag on altcoins. So it is hugely significant. But we did touch that, and it looks like we got a nice big pop here. In addition, we have some liquidity blocks. This means institutional investors are, whoops, didn't get my hotkeys fast enough here on Ethereum. This means institutional, again, this trading view, this cursor thing is not, I don't know if it's my computer. I've got the hotkeys down. Okay, there we go. These are institutional buyers, all right? These liquidity blocks, these are institutional buyers. So yes, even they are taking a loss, but you've got a lot of buying support there, which leads the altcoin market. So we're getting close, guys. I just wanted to give you that. I wanted to end on that, kind of that positive note here. In summary, we will continue to see probably further downside on SPY, potentially further downside on the Bitcoin, upside on oil, upside on the dollar, downside on Nvidia, and alts continue, smaller, especially Solana meme coins seem to be holding their own. That's where we end on the positive. All right. So if you want to look at starting, if you're smarter than me and have some cash on the side and you want to look at starting to dollar cost average into some of these positions, it's looking like Solana based meme coins are holding their own. And that is also telling us we're getting close to an altcoin run. And when I say close, again, it could be several more weeks, maybe a couple more months, but close in those terms is relative. So I expect the end of 2025 to be very good for us all. Hopefully that helps, guys. Until the next video, peace, y'all.